Hey you guys, it's Life of Nikki Lee. I hope you are living your fullest every day. Hey, how are you all doing? Thanks for tuning in on this beautiful Sunday morning. I cannot believe we are already in the second week of May, you guys. So let's just get straight to it, right? Of course, you've been hearing in the last week, of course, they've been just dragging it. The whole Iyanla Vanzant and Ebony Williams situation where she was, they were conversing and she asked her, would she date a bus driver? Ebony was like, oh, if he owns the company. And then Iyanla was like, well, that's why you ain't got no man. Okay, let's talk about it. First of all, I just want to say this. Relationships are a lot. And if you're going to be with someone in a relationship, you want to be with someone, first of all, that you are equally yoked with. That is very important. I think that's what a lot of people overlook. Secondly, I want people to understand this. It is okay to have a preference. Having a preference does not mean you think you're, better than anybody. It doesn't mean that, you look down on people. It just means you like what you like and you have a preference. Now, Iyanla, I know what you were trying to do, but here's where I'm looking at you sideways, girlfriend. If you look at Iyanla Vanzant, she's like that mother figure, cool auntie, and she gives sound advice pretty much, right? Or comes off as such. But you gotta look at her personal life too. Now, Iyanla Vanzant herself, she has had 3 failed marriages. 3 failed marriages, right? And if you look at her in her early years when her and Oprah were like really cool and she was on the Oprah show all the time, she would come out and she would talk about it. She would talk about how, the men that she met, because she's very well accomplished, lawyer and all these degrees and stuff that she's got, right? All these accomplishments. She would talk about how the men that she was with, they were jealous of her and her success and whatnot. But, it's more than that, because I remember specifically watching an episode where she had her husband, I believe it was her first husband, he was sitting out in the audience, and she was either talking to Oprah or another woman about something, and they made some kind of comment, and she mentioned her husband, and she said, well, he ain't got no money, and they laughed. And in that video clip, you could see the look on her husband's face. And you could tell, like, that brother was highly disappointed that his wife was pretty much clowning him on national TV. Now, I'm bringing that up because I think it's somewhat of a contradiction for her to put Ebony on blast for this, for this very same thing she used to do. You're trying to make Ebony look like, oh, I'm not dating someone that works, a plain job. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And you, on the other hand, Miss Vanzant, you dated the blue collar brother. You dated 3 of them and you divorced them all. Didn't keep a single one. So it's like, you're bashing her like she's doing something wrong, but where's your husband, Iyanla? What did you do wrong? Because you're not married. You certainly didn't get it right. And then she makes this post on her social media, and she goes, honestly, it was just so, to me, I think it was so extra and unnecessary. And she's like, the bus drivers, the so-and-so, calling out all the blue collar workers saying, I would date you. I would date you if you treat your mother well, if you do this, if you do that, and you treat me right. Well, sweetie, good luck with that. You're like 70 now. And you've had 3 failed marriages. And I'm not saying that to shame you, but I'm saying that as How dare you bash another Black woman for having standards? And then you drag it out like she's wrong. And furthermore, why do people in society feel like Black women cannot have preferences? Let's talk about it. Let's be real. Why is it that Black women have to accept struggle love? Now, I'm not saying like, oh, you just gotta date the blue collar. But look, don't even take it as such. There is a difference between just being straight up shallow and having a preference. Some people want to feel like they're equally yoked with people they are dating, and there is nothing wrong with that. It's no different from a guy wanting a woman who looks a certain way because that's who he finds irresistible. That's who he's sexually attracted to. That's who he's going to have chemistry with, right? And he's allowed to, and guess what? He's allowed to have that preference. If he say he doesn't want a big girl, if he say he doesn't want a skinny girl, if he says whatever his preference is, guess what? He's allowed to have it. And women are too. Because let me make something very clear. If a white woman made that same comment, first of all, I don't even think Iyanla would have asked a non-Black woman that question. I don't think she would have even directed that question towards her. It was just giving setup energy. Like, let me get some brownie points for this interview or whatever she called herself doing. If a non-Black woman said that same comment, nobody would have dragged her. No one would have dragged her. Because you know why? Because in other cultures, these young girls, as they're growing up, their grandmothers and their mothers and their fathers will teach them, even Africa. The parents will tell the daughter, date someone who is successful. Date someone who is accomplished. Be with someone who can take care of you. Now, again, not knocking the average Joe. There's nothing wrong with that. If that is where you are in your life and that's your best life's work, nobody is bashing you for that. That's cool. We already know everybody's not going to have the same success and journey in life. We know this. If you want to go and get more and strive for more, God bless you. Go do it. If you feel like you have not reached your full potential, go for what you know. But stop bashing people for having a preference. Sisters, you are allowed to have a preference. Brothers, you are allowed to have a preference. You're not looking, as long as it's not in a condescending part. Well, I don't date this. I don't date them because they do this. You don't have to even get to that point. Just say your preference is your preference and keep it moving. Move along. It is okay. You do not see, especially in the Indian community, with the arranged marriages, you don't see Indian people, letting their daughter get married to someone that they don't approve of. They want their daughters to marry successful men. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that, because they want to ensure that their daughter is going to be well taken care of, especially if she's going to have children by this man. They want to know that their daughter is in good hands. Now, I'm not saying money fixes all the problems, but what I can tell you is I have seen a lot of relationships go through the ringer because people were not equally yoked, whether it's spiritually, financially, however you want to look at it. Dating someone who is not for you, it's just not going to work. And you, Miss Iyanla, you should know that. And I just felt like I'm really sick of this Male worshiping bullshit. Black women, you do not have to accept struggle love. You don't. It doesn't mean you're looking down on anybody, because by all means, if I know something about our sisters, honey, we are out here getting it done. And you are allowed to date the person who makes you happy. You are allowed to date the person who fulfills you, that you see yourself building a future with. If you're still out there trying to figure things out, I get it. Everybody deserves to reach their full potential, and they deserve to be with someone who has reached their full potential, especially before you bring kids in this world. And that needs to be understood. And Iyanla, no shade, girl, but I need you to have a seat on this one, because you really pandered to this mediocre bullshit that it's okay and you have to accept struggle love. Girl, you did struggle love 3 times and it did not work, honey. Please sit down. Like, I respect my elders, but sister girl, you had it all wrong. I get the message, but honey, you ain't the messenger who needs to give it. So that may come off a bit harsh to some. And again, I don't want it to be misunderstood. I'm not talking about a superior / inferior kind of thing. I am saying this woman is allowed to have a preference. You're allowed to have a preference. You don't have to. Having a preference doesn't mean you're going around bashing people, and you shouldn't, because that's the wrong way to look at it. But if you want a certain thing from a certain person, there's nothing wrong with that. And I need all of society to get the hell off Black women's backs. We are allowed to love and to be loved by who we want to be with. So that being said, you guys, this is Life of Nikki Lee. Signing off. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a beautiful week. And I'll see you on the next rip. Bye.